With the state of today's economy, it's more important than ever to invest in products that last for years to come. As the seasons shift and get cooler, make sure your closet is stocked with durable layers that stand the test of time from American Giant. American Giant's clothes work harder and are wearable season after season. Their greatest hoodie ever made is made from the highest quality materials that are cut and sewn right here in the United States. So you're investing right back in your local community. Choosing American Giant means taking a stand for American manufacturing and hardworking Americans, something other mega corporations don't care about. From fleece to knit, all in a range of colors for versatile daily wear, American Giant delivers everyday pieces designed for everyday life. Feel the difference of quality, made-to-last clothes from American Giant. Get 20% off your first order with code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com with code STAPLE20.
In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
I hear that noise. Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, and welcome to Freedom Fools on WBSM. I'm Brian, glad to be with you. Little damp outside. I guess they had those tree lighting ceremonies yesterday. Some were pretty good. Some were very cold to be standing outside in. At any rate, welcome to Freedom Fools, one of many shows born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. And we've got a pretty packed program for you during the 3 o'clock hour. 3 o'clock hour, we're going to be hearing from Tracy Albanese. She is one of the field coordinators with United Interfaith Action. We're going to get a follow-up on the rent control ballot initiative, see where they are right now. The last I heard, they had more than enough signatures, and who didn't figure that, but more than enough signatures to get on the ballot in November of 2026, which means rent control could be coming back. Second hour, I had a person ask a question last evening I did not have an answer to, and the question dealt with U.S. national and U.S. citizen. I think I've got the answer, and I'll present that as part of what we do during hour number 2. And this hour, we're scheduled to talk to Dr. Michael Sala. He is a professional counselor, and this deals with artificial intelligence. And he has some stunning numbers to present. And not only does he have stunning numbers to present, his study found something which I got to tell you blew me away when it comes to artificial intelligence, but just about everything else seems to fall in place when it comes to artificial intelligence, things that we are not paying any attention to. Well, I think judging by some of the study figures that I have here, some of the research that Dr. Sala has done, I think we need to open up our eyes to what's really going to be going on with not going on, but what is, and let me repeat that, what is going on with artificial intelligence. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take that first break a little early today, and then I'm going to come back with the good doctor. We're going to have a great conversation, and if you'd like to join us, you know the number, 508-996-0500.
And about 15% of men have interacted with some form of AI companion.
This is WBSM.
Low-cost air helps you find the best airfares, foreign and domestic. Low-cost air, 800-221-6085. Low cost air, 800-221-6085.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
There's no better fool than the Freedom Fools. Now, back to Brian.
They've got some data, and about 15% of men have interacted with some form of AI companion.
Men have interacted with some form of AI companion. Wow. What exactly does that mean? Because I don't know how many men have a robot in order to have some type of companionship with AI. Well, we're going to find out. Dr. Michael Sala is a licensed professional counselor with Vantage Point Counseling Services, not in our backyard. He is a sex addiction therapist. And what we're going to talk about is artificial intelligence with men and women having relationships. I know it sounds odd, but I guess we had to figure it was going to go down this particular road at a particular time. And I guess, as we'll find out from the good doctor, that time is now. Good afternoon, doctor. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Good afternoon to you, too. How are you doing?
If I were doing any better, there would be three of me. That's what I'd like to say anyway. So I've read a couple of your articles. One is AI, the new frontier of erotic compulsion. And the one that really caught my attention, the first one that made me reach out to you, artificial romance, a study of AI and human relationships. So what's really going on here? Are you trying to tell me that humans and AI are somehow hooking up?
Yeah, it is happening. People are using AI to they're using it as a romantic partner. They're using it as a sexual partner. Some are considering it an actual love interest, an actual romantic interest, that's where we're at.
Really, I mentioned earlier, I really don't know how that's happening. Your research shows a lot of people are using Chat GPT. I didn't realize that Chat GPT was anything more than a supercomputer. I mean, it's not a robot. I mean, what kind of intimacy, would that be the right word? Can you possibly do with Chat GPT?
Yeah, so people are, the study itself just kind of was a survey study. So it, asked basic questions about whether people were considering themselves to have a romantic, relationship with AI. ChatGPT was one of them, but it listed quite a few others. And the types of interactions, the study itself, it didn't have, people will have to do more research down the road to kind of learn about the specific types of interactions. So the study itself was asking the people that were answering the questions whether or not they considered it to be romantic. But I think future research is going to indicate exactly what that means by getting even more specific about what people are doing with the AI and what they're asking and stuff. But ChatGPT has the ability to seem like it's having a conversation with you. We're seeing that not just in the romantic arena, but social arenas. People might consider it to be a friend. They might consider it to be something like a romantic partner. They, consider it to be an assistant, all kinds of different roles. So yeah, I mean, that is what they're doing, and they're having interactions and conversations with it, which makes it feel human, really.
So conversations, but not necessarily any type of touching.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's probably out there. The study that I didn't necessarily, or that we didn't necessarily get into, like virtual reality. But I would assume that that's something that is out there. That this didn't particularly look at that, though. To specifically look at it.
You are a counselor. You do a lot with sex addiction and relationships and stuff like that. What made you do research on AI and relationships?
Yeah, so I work with a firm that actually helps me with my internet and technology and stuff, and so they do a lot with AI. They have an interest in AI and AI research. They thought it was an interesting combination because of my focus that I have on sexual compulsivity in relationships and sex therapy itself. And so they kind of proposed it as a study. I thought it was compelling, and I do think it's kind of somewhere where our society is going to be heading, where this could be quite like a compulsive tool, and it can be another kind of thing that could harm relationships. And so I thought it was just sort of a natural direction to kind of go in.
According to your study, almost 30% of participants say they've had at least one intimate or romantic relationship with artificial intelligence.
Yes.
What did you think when you started doing the tally?
Yeah, so the data was it was surprising to me. I anticipated it being it was kind of it was sort of surprising. I did anticipate it being high, and I actually anticipated being surprised. so I was sort of like I was kind of maybe hoping or thinking that maybe it might actually turn out to be a lot lower than I was like on one and thinking that it would be. Anyway, it turned out to be it turned out to be as high as I sort of was thinking, but I was hoping that maybe like something might surprise me in the other direction.
Well, I'm looking 3 out of 10 people, and do we have a breakdown of male to female?
No, this particular these demographics didn't necessarily get into gender.
So you mentioned earlier, we're talking to Dr. Michael Sala, and he is a licensed professional counselor, did an extensive, at least, and I guess I say extensive, it is to me looking at these numbers, but the good doctor here is saying that more studies like this need to be done, and more in depth, I think, is the term that I'm going to use, that I think that you would agree with. I'm 30%, that's 3 out of 10 people. And you think that it should be lower or higher?
Well, I think it's representative. I hope that it would be lower, just because I think that one of the things that I have a concern about just in general, because I already work with so many people who sort of use social media, the internet, these different things as numbing tools. I was hoping that this would not just become one more kind of numbing tool that would sort of create greater disconnection. And so I think the number's representative just because of the sampling that they did. But I would hope that it would move in a direction that I kind of don't think that it's going to. I think that the number may actually go up over time.
Yeah, I think over time, as artificial intelligence becomes more robotic and the robots become more human-like. I think you are absolutely correct. And what does that do to human relationships, in your mind, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet, but what we do know is that people need people. We need human connection. We need that kind of social bonding, and we're kind of at the really early stages of this, where we don't really know, like, if something replicates it in a way that seems to a lot of people close enough. To me, it's probably not close enough, but like to a lot of people, it may be an adequate substitute. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, and that's kind of the scary part.
So I'm looking over some of the numbers from your study, and I think maybe you should just take the numbers and hoist them up to YouTube with a great conversation. If you want, I'll be glad to be one of the conversationalists with you. But I am surprised also by how many folks, and you break down age groups, seem to be okay if they're in a relationship with somebody else and that person is having some type of intimacy, if that's what you want to call it, with artificial intelligence. That's kind of screwy, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, that part was interesting in that. So, I work with some folks who will describe themselves as a non-monogamous, and they'll have like an open agreement with, their partners. But that's not really what was totally representative in this data, was that people would consider it cheating, which means to me that they consider it a kind of unethical decision, and that was that they also would call it acceptable. It would be interesting to be able to kind of interact more individually with people who answer those kinds of questions, and kind of have them give more context to what they were kind of describing there, because that was something that almost seemed kind of contradictory with their particular answer, but that's how they ansed. So they would say it was cheating, but not cheating, but acceptable is what they would say.
Okay, cheating, but it makes me wonder if they would be okay if that person had cheated with a human being.
Right. Yeah. And my guess is probably not. So I don't know if they're thinking cheating is doing something with someone else, but because it's artificial intelligence, not a real human, then they're considering it to be justifiable. I don't know, but that's that's the only way I can really wrap my mind around that.
So, as a counselor, do you counsel people that have situations like this? Obviously, you can't give out any names, but
sure.
Are you?
I'm starting to see it more.
You are starting to see it more. And how long has that been going on, roughly?
This year. Prior to this year, I hadn't really had anyone come in with any kind of concern about this, but this year.
So is the party that's coming in that's concerned, is that party the person that is having the relationship, or is it the other party who is thinking, hey, my boyfriend or my girlfriend is just losing it over here?
Yeah, right. So far, it's been the person who's engaging with the AI, themselves. But I think over time, my anticipation was just because of the other work that I do, is that people are going to discover these interactions and stuff, and I think that the catalyst is going to be the other person in the relationship too, by most likely feeling betrayed.
Yeah, I'm going to ask like this. You think? I mean, again, I'm picturing Chat GPT and Alexa and Siri. There's not much going on there, but the first set of robots for open market are going to be coming out over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And, as people start buying those, and, things happen, whether we agree with it right now or somewhere down the road, things are going to start to happen. And how do I can only look at this as a male, but can you imagine trying to keep that secret in that you're having a relationship with artificial intelligence? That just doesn't. I don't know. You explain it. I can't.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the, one concern that I have as, in particular as a sex therapist, because a lot of people, they use the internet as their sex education place. They use it as, already prior to AI. And so I do have some concerns about people having these unrealistic expectations about sex, or just really lousy ideas of how it works, in particular with sexual boundaries. So if I use ChatGPT, for example, and I'm, interacting back and forth with it, it will tell me every idea and everything that I'm asking it is great. It kind of has this real positive tone. It doesn't tell me, no, that you're doing something wrong. You're asking for something that isn't right now. And when you're interacting with a person sexually and you're negotiating those sexual boundaries, there's a negotiation that's involved. You actually have a real life human who says yes, who says no, who tells you preferences, who communicates with you. And so I do have concerns about how people develop, in particular, with something that doesn't really, have them kind of, in certain ways, maybe even get rejected at times, because that's a natural part of human relationships. And it can seem tempting and easier to have this thing that would never reject you, in a way. But then I have a lot of concerns about that, because real humans do reject you. That's a real part of the process.
Yes, it is. And I think I'm glad you went down that road. Dr. Michael Sala is joining us. He is a licensed professional counselor. He works a lot with people that have sex questions, sex problems. And so I'm going to, I don't mean to play the devil's advocate, but I'm trying to see it from another point of view, if you don't mind. Sometimes, if you're married or in a relationship over several years, you might want to try something different. Would the AI, as we see AI advancing, be a great first place to try something new?
I mean, I don't think it's wrong to play devil's advocate with that. I think if there's a sense of boundary, around that too, open discussion with a partner, the person, is maybe mature enough to kind of utilize the tool. And I don't even mean that with age, because I work with a wide variety of ages. And when it comes to sex, there can be a lot of, naivete and stuff. But a short answer is yes, possibly, that it could be a place of exploration, learning something about sex. I think what we don't know about, what we don't know enough with AI is, we can the developers can kind of anticipate a certain number of prompts, but we've seen it cause problems in other arenas, with there's a case with a teen suicide recently, and what happened there was the parameters held for, 20 some prompts. I don't quote me on that, but as the particular kid was asking, more and more and more prompts down, the AI starts taking over in a way that the developers can't really anticipate. And in that situation, it had a tragic ending. And so I think that's where the concerns are, is how would a developer create something that would have good parameters, for someone who's using the AI, and even around sex and stuff. And I can't even just, kind of fathom what the parameters would have to be specifically for a developer to even work with that. So the short answer is yes, possibly. Again, I'm adding a bunch of context, probably telling you how complex I think it could become.
Well, most people that I have talked to, many of the folks listening to this program, including myself, we are just now figuring out that artificial intelligence is really going to be a part of our life. And I thought about the sex thing, and I just kind of hit AI, and I did plus sex, and you popped up, and your study popped up, and I'm reading it, and I'm saying, you've got to be kidding. I think the first thing that got to me was that there was already a study that had been done on this. I'm thinking this is something for the future. And what I gathered from reading not only this blog post, but the blog post that came out in October is that, this stuff is here right now, and folks better be aware.
Yeah, for sure. ChatGPT had kind of backed off, I think right around the time that, maybe right before when we published this blog post, and they kind of backed off on that their actual AI couldn't really be used for romantic purposes. There was another update where they reported that they were going to be releasing some type of a version that would allow for erotic use. I don't know where that's at currently, but it's just interesting because it is something that you can already kind of see these developers kind of contending with, trying to figure out where they need to go with it. And the truth of it, I don't know if it's a sad truth or not, is that there's also a lot of profit for them to be made if they, offer some kind of paid add-on, for example, for an erotic or romantic use of it. And so I'm sure that's part of the consideration and discussion. So there's a lot we're in the beta phase of all this, definitely. But it's rapidly evolving to your point.
Where do you, if you don't mind me asking, where do you see your business going with artificial intelligence and the potential for intimate? I don't know how intimate one can get, but physical relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to hope that it's been kind of what I've been seeing, where people are concerned about their own engagement with it, and so they're coming in and they're kind of trying to, and that could range. If somebody came in and they just needed sex education about it, that may be enough for some people, whereas others may feel more of a compulsive connection with it. That would probably require some more in-depth work, but that's what I've been seeing right now, is kind of the early stages of people feeling like they're noticing their own kind of problems with it. Where I sadly see it going is people dealing with some layer of kind of betrayal, trauma within their marriage, their family, and there's a lot more disruptions where, there's a lot more trauma kind of involved. And that part, I think, is where I likely see it going, which is sad. But that's what I anticipate over the next couple of years, seeing more and more and more.
I think you're right. Do you ever anticipate yourself being an expert witness during court cases because of AI?
No. I mean, I don't. It's not a place where I really enjoy being, is in the courtroom. But so no, I wouldn't really want to be an expert witness. But I'll save that for someone else who enjoys that setting way more than I do.
So okay, now again, I'm going to go down this particular road. So what's really wrong? I hear if people become compulsive with AI in a physical type of way, sexual type of way, that can really be bad, because, well, maybe they don't want to have a relationship with a human being, that type of relationship. Is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but I think so. I mean, I think we are seeing that in other arenas, with some signs of some societal breakdown when we see, kind of you look at like lone wolf situations and situations where people are, I think it's fine to have online social interactions. I'm not so extreme that I think no one should, I interact with people on, social media too. I don't think it's a problem to just have social media and that type of stuff. But we do see people who don't have enough of those in-person connections. It seems to be getting harder we seem to be getting isolated more and more and more as individuals. And I do see social problems that, concern me a lot. And so I think AI could play a problematic role in that too. Not to sound too much like an AI doomer, but I do have a lot of concerns about that. Because
I guess you do.
How we are with the internet already.
I hear you. But there's that woman out there who is having a problem with her man. He never can hit that right spot, but artificial intelligence says the right thing and can find the right spot. What is she supposed to do?
I mean, there's that can be complicated because you've got your partner that you're dealing with. What we know already kind of about long-term romantic relationships is that the people we tend to choose for our long-term partners don't always, or I would even venture to say usually, tend to be our peak erotic partners too. So you have this like kind of like ongoing negotiation where you have to kind of work with the person to help you connect even more and more and more in that particular way. And so, I think, if you just assume like, hey, well, maybe AI could fill in that blank for that person, maybe that would be okay if there's a, kind of relationship agreement with trust and stuff, and the people are still working on their primary relationships. I think it's okay to, engage in fantasy or whatever, as long as, you aren't giving up your real in life, relationships for this artificial intelligence. I think that's where it could be okay.
Well, no, I hear that part, but if the person is getting the ultimate joy from the artificial intelligence and they're not getting it from a human being, well, they're satisfied. And I guess my question is, all right, so they're happy, it doesn't mean they don't go to work or meet with their cousin or anything like that.
Yeah, I got you. I think what I hear what you're saying is sort of like if the person is, engaging with these social connections, they might, even if they are in a romantic relationship and they're just living their lives in a way that feels fulfilling, this is, the erotic desire that they have, and they're fulfilling it in that way, and they want to do that, and it feels fulfilling enough to them. I don't see any just inherent harm in that.
Right. So, I guess what I'm getting at is you don't have to be in a relationship. I live right around the corner from it used to be a thriving strip club. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen to their business if people are going to go out and buy a robot for a number of reasons, not tomorrow, not next year, but in the coming years. They're going to have one. They're great tutors. They're great cleaners. They're all kinds of things. And so I'm sitting here and I'm saying, okay, well, so now George has his robot and the robot pleases George. So George no longer has to go to the strip club around the corner. I mean, I see business changing. Yeah, I see your business booming, but I see a lot of businesses really going down the tubes because of even the sexual part here.
Yeah. I mean, there's the possibility of that. Part of me wonders if it's too early to say, like maybe virtual reality may have to me, it would probably, because sight is so important and, our senses are so important when it comes to sex. So our brains are important, and that's probably the part that AI is currently most likely stimulating is that social part of our brains that in our imagination. I don't think there's right now, and I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility, but there's also some signs that like AI's there's a little bit of plateauing in the technology where people were thinking it was going to be able to do a lot more than it's currently doing. So, possibly I would say that I think people are still going to need their senses stimulated more. And I don't know that artificial intelligence is fully there yet. And there's not, I don't see the current signs. I'm not taking it out of the realm of possibility. I just don't see the current signs that we're as close as you might think. But as you said earlier, this kind of seemed to really happen very fast too. So it's possible that could happen quickly.
Yeah, I don't know, and I guess I'm trying to prepare myself for what's happening down the road because here's something else. I was going to say I'm a person in my later years, but according to your study, if I recall correctly, folks in their 60s and over are more or less fine with their partner or close relation having romantic or intimate AI relationships at the same time that they're with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers specifically too, but you are right. The number was surprisingly high for the older individuals who, I think 60 plus, who participated in the survey. They were surprisingly fine with their
they didn't consider it cheating.
Yeah, and so it's an interesting fact because we tend to think of younger folks being more open and fluid with their ideas of what some of these sexual boundaries are and adaptable to technology. But this indicated maybe something a little different than that.
You're right. I'm just going from the survey right now. Having a romantic or intimate AI relationship at the same time as romantic or human relationship is cheating or unacceptable. The 18 to 29-year-old crowd, 56% considered it unacceptable. 42% of 60 plus considered it unacceptable. Whereas, it wasn't cheating, or it was cheating, but unacceptable. The 60 plus was less than 10%. Well,
right. Yeah. It's
almost the opposite.
I don't know what to make of it.
It's the opposite of the political.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Conservative, liberal, so to speak. Well, I'm looking at this, and I don't know whether to smile, laugh, frown, be worried.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can smile in that it's interesting. I do think we need to be concerned, and if nothing else, we can at least try to educate ourselves and continue to research. I think that's another key thing that I got from this because. Even when we were going back and forth with the data that we got, I was kind of like just thinking of ongoing kinds of things where I was like, this could really lead to a lot of other important research that needs to be done. But I think
what?
we need to
Go
keep
ahead.
educating ourselves.
You're going down that road. Like what kind of research? You're at the top of this game right now. What type of research so we know what to expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, I do think it's important to know what people why people would think that it's cheating but acceptable. I think that's an important thing. So that could almost be its own study to try to see if that. First of all, you want to see if things get replicated in the same way. So you'd want to see if the same result came out to further validate what we got in this particular study. I think there's also even more demographic stuff that's important. How do men and women view this stuff differently? How do they view it differently if they're married versus not married? I think there's important stuff with looking at gay and straight couples. Do they view it the same way? So I think there's a lot of demographic stuff that, stood out as far as like, okay, this would be important to further research. I think looking at the particular applications, because this is pretty broad. I mean, even things like Siri and, stuff like that was included as a type of AI. I think it's getting deeper into, do people who use ChatGPT versus Claude versus a bunch of other things that I haven't even, heard of prior to doing this, do they yield the same results? Are there certain AI that ends up having a different result, and why is that if that's the case? So, I mean, it's kind of endless, where you can kind of go with just imagining what types of questions that need to be asked, and where that data will kind of go. That's the exciting thing about research, is it can kind of just lead down so many informational paths,
rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yep.
I hear you. And one thing I didn't hear, maybe it just didn't come to your mind, or maybe it doesn't matter, is a lot of these people that think it might be cheating, but it doesn't really matter to them. I wonder if their partner does do something like this, if they then have a change of heart.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible if they ended up having a conversation about it. I think the problem is when people discover it, they're not prepared for it, and they view it like a betrayal. It's really hard for that trust to just kind of flip back around then, because it's already kind of violated a boundary. I think it's in the realm of possibility. I worked with people who have, had some situation, for example, like they discovered a partner was watching pornography that was really devastating to them up front. And then through talking and processing and learning more about why and what was going on, it's much less threatening to them, and they end up being okay with it. So it is in the realm of possibility. A lot of times when that line of trust is crossed, it doesn't flip back around that easily, but it does happen sometimes.
I get you. So I think what I'm learning here is, if you're planning on doing something with artificial intelligence, you probably, and you're in another relationship, you probably should let that other person know first.
Yeah,
that you're going to go down that road. And then when they say no, go ahead and do it.
Negotiate your sexual boundaries, with your partner. And if you get gridlocked, because people do get gridlocked on all kinds of things, not just sex, learn how to deal with the gridlock, So if one person says no and the other person says yes, that's a gridlock. Learn how to deal with that by, that's probably a whole other segment, but yeah, it definitely work with your partner. So yeah, that you're both on the same page.
Have you had a situation? Have you had a situation yet, Doctor, where folks have done a threesome with AI?
I have not. No. I work with people who are in like thruples and these kinds of situations, and but it hasn't been with AI. But that could happen. I don't know.
It's bound to. I can't see it not happening at some particular place. It may not come into your office, but I can. Here's my imagination of this. So he wants to do a threesome with what?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. It might be bad enough to think about another woman, but now you want to bring in a bot? What?
There can be some conversations like that. And I think what I will say is partners a lot of times are way more understanding and supportive of sexual interest that are maybe even considered taboo or unusual than we would give them credit for. So a lot of times they would maybe be more open to engaging in it or trying it out than we'd often think they would be. And
maybe.
So
Yeah,
we'll see that with. I know. I will tell you, I see it a lot with like pornography, for example, where couples will, engage in that together. To me, it wouldn't seem to be a whole lot different, other than there would be an unusual chat element. I don't know what that does to the flow of the sexual interaction, but they could potentially enjoy that together.
All right, Dr. Sala, how would you like to wrap this up? Because my guess is you're back quite a few times after today's session.
Yeah, I would just say, educate yourselves, be open with communication with your partners. I don't think that AI is going anywhere. So I think we just have to learn how to learn more about it and view it as something that we're going to keep learning about. Don't give up connection for artificial intelligence would be my main thing.
Don't give up connection. So in other words, stick with the humans.
Have humans around for sure.
Well, I hear what you're saying. My guess is not everybody's going to comply.
I worry about that too.
All right.
Yeah.
Dr. Sala, thank you so much for coming on the program today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Michael Sala. He's a licensed professional counselor. He does a lot of sex therapy work. And he's got a study, if you get a chance to read it, is AI the new frontier of erotic compulsion? That is one of the posts that he put out recently. The one that he put out back in September, Artificial Romance, a study of AI and human relationships. They are both fascinating reads. And as I look at it, as I'm viewing this, a deep look into our future. Now, maybe not yours, and maybe not yours. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I want to go down this road, but my eyes are open. My eyes are open to see what will happen. And especially on the business side of the street, talking to the doctor, today's artificial intelligence is not going to replace that stripper over at the King's Inn. But the artificial intelligence of 2027, 2028, 2030, 2032. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, we don't need a King's Inn around anyway. It's a job. It's a profession. People that aren't hooked on drugs do reputable work in places like that, believe it or not. And all of a sudden they could be out of a job. Just another industry that could be jobless down the road. We'll take your calls on this during hour number 2. And I've got other things to bring forward during the second hour.
Power to the people. Power to the people.
WBSM.
You know, most people are not business owners, but just about everybody knows one. The dirty little secret is most owners don't qualify for a bank loan because they lack collateral. At Legitimate Business Funders, owners can get up to $2 million in funding with no collateral, even with a low credit score. And they can get that funding in a couple of days. Find Legitimate Business Funders online at legitimatebusinessfunders.com. Legitimatebusinessfunders.com.
Freedom Fools on WBSM. Here's more with Brian Thomas.
They've got some data, and about 15% of men have interacted with some form of AI companion.
Funny thing about that number, 15% of men, the other part is 30% of women have had some type of interaction with artificial intelligence. So, at first I thought, of course, it's going to be the men. But no. Women I don't want to try to speak, but they want that type of companionship. I am definitely intrigued by what to expect over the next few years. On this December 6th, the quote of the day, intemperance and intolerance serve no one, and hatred guarantees failure. Intemperance and intolerance serve no one, and hatred guarantees failure. That quote from former U.S. Senator Edward Brooke. He was a senator here from the Commonwealth, late 60s into the early 70s. Republican, African American. And, for the short time that he was in, a pretty darn good senator. The Washington Monument was completed on this date in 1884. And in 2017, the Trump administration announced that the holy city of Jerusalem will now be the capital of Israel. A couple of other things. Speaking of Israel, real quick. It seems that a lot of IDF soldiers are committing suicide at an alarming rate. Just thought I'd throw that in there. 41 in Swansea,